What is up, addicts? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. Get to talk about one of my favorite players heading into the 2020 draft in KYLER Murray, quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. Breaking down what we expect to see from him in 2020. But before we get started, please hit that like and subscribe button for us. We're going to be posting a lot of videos like this over all 32 NFL teams, over 100 videos. So hitting that subscribe button will make sure you're up to date with everything that's happening around here. Also, check out our website, fantasyaddictionnetwork.com, for a full list of rankings. But without further ado, let's talk about KYLER Murray. Heading into his sophomore season, his rookie year was actually pretty solid. For fantasy, he is one of three quarterbacks in the past decade to finish as a top 8 option and is already looking to be pretty solid in terms of his floor because of how involved he is in the run game, and also, of course, adding none other than DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason, finally giving the Cardinals a true number one wide receiver option alongside Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. So this team is already looking to be ascending. They get Kenyon Drake a transition tag to make sure that he stays on the team, and they let David Johnson go. And then they also add an offensive lineman in the draft, guy that was profiled to go in the first round, slid all the way to the third in Josh Jones. So things are looking up for the Cardinals. Last year, finished the year with 3,700 passing yards, but only 20 passing touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Very low passing touchdowns considering the amount of yardage he had. Made up for it a little bit with 544 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Somewhat resembling Lamar Jackson, at least like at a 50% clip in terms of the rushing yards. But finishes with 297.3 fantasy points in his rookie season, finishing at 7th, averaging 18.6 points a game, 13th best overall. Now, overall, you probably weren't too thrilled starting him towards the end of the season once that schedule got a bit tougher going against the Rams, the Steelers, but uh, also dealing with an injury towards the end of the season could have hurt his efficiency a little bit, but we're expecting him to take a pretty big step forward in this next year, especially adding DeAndre Hopkins. That can't do anything negative for him, and really expecting a pretty big step forward in terms of the passing touchdown efficiency. But as you can see here, only 2 weeks finishing outside of the top 24, but also 7 weeks where he doesn't even finish as a quarterback one. So that's definitely a little bit depressing. But again, as a rookie, that was still a pretty solid season and definitely gives you a decent bit of floor with that rushing volume. And we're expecting that trend to continue as we get into this next year. But we're also expecting, again, an increase to his overall touchdown efficiency. So let's look a little bit deeper into some of the stats to remember from KYLER Murray's rookie season. He actually finished the year with 70 deep ball attempts, which was number 9 in the NFL, and had a 44.3% deep ball completion, which was number 6 in the NFL. Adding DeAndre Hopkins to the mix should make this efficiency go up. Christian Kirk no longer having to run with the number one corner on the opposing team, and DeAndre Hopkins is no stiff in the deep ball game as well. So we're expecting KYLER Murray's adjusted yards per attempt to go up. Pretty abysmal last year at 6.1, and also dealing with a supporting cast efficiency of a negative 1.9, 20th in the NFL. That should definitely look to go up a bit this year. Also finished third in money throws, and again, it had a very low touchdown rate. 3.7% was actually 28th in the NFL. He made up for it a little bit with his red zone carries of 19, which was third in the NFL. We're expecting this to shift a little bit more towards him passing the ball a little bit more effectively, especially adding DeAndre Hopkins, who has been one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL in terms of his red zone efficiency. So adding Hopkins really changes a huge outlook of this team. This is a team that wants to pass the ball a lot, that had over 500 passing attempts in 2019. We're expecting them to continue that pace of play again, running this air raid offense with Cliff Kingsbury. And now that Christian Kirk is going to be able to run free a bit more, we're expecting a good year from him. And Larry Fitzgerald still playing well, even in his old age. So pretty solid cast of receivers there. Kenny Drake as well, not too shabby in the passing game. So very solid core of receivers for Kyler Murray. And again, considering that rushing floor, that just gives us a very good baseline for projecting where he's going to finish. We're expecting him to hit over 4,000 passing yards, be a little bit more efficient, hit a few more of those deep balls now. Expecting him to jump up in his passing touchdowns, jumping from 20 to 27, give him a little bit of leeway, and taking the interceptions down to 11, but still giving him 500 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns, considering the amount of red zone carries he took last year. Expecting very good things from him on the ground as well. That would put him at 332 fantasy points, but we give him an upside of 5/5 because any quarterback that runs the ball as much as Kyler Murray has the ability to be the #1 quarterback in fantasy. We've said it over and over again in these videos, and it's kind of annoying how much running yards for quarterbacks actually matter in fantasy because of the bonus that they give you. But it really, really does matter. There's a reason Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson were such valuable quarterbacks last year. Josh Allen more so is the outlier here because he wasn't very good at throwing the ball, very similar to how we saw Tim Tebow in years past be a very relevant fantasy quarterback, even though he was terrible on game day. But the nice thing for Kyler Murray is while he is heavily involved in the run game, he's actually a very good quarterback. Again, being able to hit on a lot of those deep ball attempts and adding DeAndre Hopkins to the mix, there's not really much to not be excited about. Could definitely hit a ceiling much higher than this and could have a meteoric rise similar to what we saw from Lamar Jackson in 2019. So that's our take on Kyler Murray. Right now we have him as our quarterback 4, but he's been bouncing back and forth between Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray for that #3 spot. So as the offseason goes on, if Dak doesn't end up signing a deal, that might add a little fuel to the fire and give us a little bit more confidence in Kyler Murray. But in terms of upside, it's really hard to go wrong with Kyler Murray with everything that's going on around the team. It's just looking very positive for 2020. The only downside right now is his ADP is a bit too high for where we'd like to take a quarterback. I have seen him fall in some drafts, and pretty much if he falls to the 7th round, I'm taking him every single time. But I've also seen him jump up to like round 5 or round 6, and definitely not interested in taking a quarterback that early this year when you consider the amount of quarterbacks that you're able to acquire later on. But if you're looking for a quarterback that you don't have to take in the first couple of rounds that has a legit chance of being the fantasy MVP this year, Kyler Murray is your guy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.